Hey everyone, before we get started, we wanted to take a moment and commemorate the career of Lanny Poffo. Here it is. This is the story of Leaping Lanny, known also as the Genius to many. Tagging with brother Randy is how he started in this game. He was one of the first to moonsault before it even had a name. Reciting poems and throwing frisbees into the stands, he bled all over at the Battle Royal after a hit from a giant man. Then a motivational speaker and author, he was quite witty. Rest in peace, Lanny. We will greatly miss thee. We wanted to start there. And Eric, is there anything that you would like to say about our friend Lanny Poffo?
Well, first of all, that was beautiful. That was so cool. Wow, it was so cool. It made me cry. Damn it. Damn it, pal.
Lanny himself actually cried the first time he heard that as well.
So, I didn't know Lanny real well. I don't want to pretend I did. Here's what I do know. I'm 100% right when I would say this. Lanny's love for his family and his loyalty, that's who Lanny was.
Absolutely, he was. And we have a lot of friends here joining us live who are offering their condolences as well. And lots of people in the wrestling world doing the same today online. We wanted to join in and commemorate Lanny for a moment there. On that note, we want to welcome you all to After 83 Weeks. I'm Christy. My friends Steve and Adam are here with me tonight. George will be back next week, no worries. And as you saw, we of course have the man, Eric Bischoff, joining us live this week on 83 Weeks. Him and Conrad gave you guys all the opportunity to ask Eric anything, but if you all are like us, you miss the opportunity sometimes, you miss your chance, but we are giving you another one here tonight. So you have got to be subscribed to the 83 Weeks channel if you have a burning question for this guy. Oh, I was just going to point to him. For this guy, Eric Bischoff. You have got to be subscribed to the 83 Weeks channel. We want to welcome you if you have joined us there. And also, of course, a special welcome to our ad-free show's top guys joining us tonight. Now, listen, everybody, this is a change on our show. You have got to be subscribed to the 83 Weeks channel to join in the live chat and ask Eric a question. And here's how you do that. If you are watching on desktop, that subscribe button is right about here. Make sure that it is checked and also hit all next to the little bell. Then you will get notified every single time you have an opportunity to go live with Eric. If you are on mobile, the subscribe button is right here. Make sure that you click it so you can live chat along with us. I am going to give you all 10 seconds to make sure that you are subscribed or to go do so. If you are not, I just told you how. I hope you were listening. And for the next 10 seconds, you're going to get an opportunity to do that while my friends, Steve and Adam here, name as many WrestleMania main events as they can. 10 seconds are on the clock. Go, Steve.
Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant.
Stone Cold versus The Rock.
Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. I killed the bunch of them there.
Triple H versus Chris Jericho.
You're done. You guys both win. Big winners. I know that was a quick 10 seconds.
You know what's funny, though? It was funny. Adam's first answer sounded more like a question.
Yeah.
It was like a really good guess, and he knew it.
She switched up the questions. I thought as many world champions, and I had Luthez, Vern Gagne.
Oh, that was the example. We would have.
Yeah.
You gotta keep it up there.
Yeah.
This is a fun start. This is a hot open.
Hot open.
We love that. And we want to thank Michael, Ed, and Josh is always here. Nicholas, great to see you and your wifey always watching us. Rodney, Beyond the Script podcast. Jay Watson, so good to see you all here tonight. Our other friend, Josh, and Mick. We got your super chats, Mick. So now that you all have subscribed, you can ask your questions right in there. And we love some super chats as well. On that note, let's get rolling to some of these. I haven't had a chance to get through all of them yet. But let's start here with this one from Jay Watson. Hey, Eric, what do you think about the Pitch Black match? Do you like the idea of WWE doing more sponsored matches down the line? So he's referring to Royal Rumble. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong here. This was Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight. And Eric, I know you don't usually tune into these sort of matches, but how do you like the idea of WWE having these sponsored matches? I think another example is there was a movie tie-in to the Rey Mysterio eye thing back in the day. You may remember that.
Yeah.
Better. What are your thoughts on those?
I love it because you know what it means? The reason I love it is because it means the business is getting stronger and stronger. and advertisers are really recognizing just how powerful professional wrestling can be as a marketing vehicle. And the stronger the business gets, the more all of us on the outside of it get to talk about it and have fun with it. So I'm good with it, man. I'm perfectly good with it. And I know, you know what's really funny? You guys know who John Arezzi is?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. The wrestling historian. Yeah.
Yeah.
John Arezzi called me. I just got done doing a podcast with him. And I'm going to forget the reason I even bring this up, so you guys may have to remind me. But John Arezzi called me and says, hey, 30 years ago today, when you were about ready to be announced as the executive producer, John said, you did a radio interview with me, and I recorded it. And it's going to be part of my podcast. I got a whole bunch of those interviews that evidently I did with John. There you go. And he goes, I'd like you to sit in and we'll talk about it. And I had forgotten all about this stuff, right? Who knows? I've done a million interviews, right? And I sat there and we listened to that, and it was so fascinating. I encourage anybody that's listening to this, when you see, I'm going to tweet the hell out of it when that podcast hits or when that YouTube show hits. I'll tweet the hell out of it. When I do, you should go listen to it. It's really, really fun. And as promised, I forgot why I even brought that up.
We were talking about Mountain Dew Pitch Black.
Yeah,
We're talking about how the business grows when
that's
more
it.
sponsors are doing stuff.
Thank you, Steve. Steve keeps me on my track. Woo, Steve. Captain Steve. No, one of the parts and I don't know, you'll hear it on his YouTube show. But John asked me, about the current state of the business, right? And where the business needs to go. The state of television in 1993 and all of the challenges that it presented. That wrestling ratings have been declining for a number of years leading into this interview. How was I going to change that? Right? A lot of the same stuff, various shades of gray, that we're talking about today. It was so much fun, so fascinating. But out of that, I said to John, John, can you imagine back in 1993, if someone would have walked in on that interview and said, hey, I just brought my crystal ball in here to show you guys how WWE is going to be merchandise or selling their licensing rights to a network for, I don't know, about $1 billion. Get the hell out of here. It's so cool. The business has come so far, and something like a sponsor now to bring it all, this is called the callback, to bring it all the way back. All this tells me is the business is getting stronger every day, and that's great for everybody, for WWE, for us on the outside looking in, for AEW, for everybody. It's good. Cheer it on.
Yeah.
If you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you just look at traditional wrestling and you look at your 5-star match, you think it's sponsored matches too. Nobody cares, just you, and you don't matter. Fuck off.
In 1993, correct me if I'm wrong, WWF wrestlers were only guaranteed like $100 a week for television.
Yeah.
Like that's where the business was in 1993 I know it's a long time ago, but similar, this Netflix paid, I think, $1 million for one match to promote a zombie movie in 2021.
There.
Like that's the growth of the business.
All you hardcore dirt sheet, useful idiot wannabes that live on the internet to bury stuff because you don't have any idea what you're really talking about, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Awesome.
And lest we forget, that historic Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero match that happened at Halloween Havoc. The four posts of the ring were littered with like Slim Jim, adornment on the ring post. Again, you innovated way before your time.
Yeah, and I mean, Slim Jim was an obvious one. We crammed Slim Jims down everybody's throat for a long time, and we're grateful to do it. By the way, for $750, $750,000 a year, I'll shove Slim Jims down anybody's throat. But lest we forget the more controversial movie tie-in that we did at Halloween Havoc with Chucky, the crazy doll. Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. Rick Steiner
had to cut a promo with Chucky.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I
Evil little
remember.
midget clown.
Adam remembers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an evil puppet.
Also,
People
like,
hated us for that. I didn't care. I got a huge check.
Yeah.
also, your name. I'm just now realizing that this happened on NXT's Halloween Havoc. There's a Chucky show on USA Network. So if
Yeah.
you Google, so if you
I
Google
did it
Halloween
first.
Havoc,
Another
you Google
trend I
Halloween
started.
Havoc Chucky. These are the pictures that come up. Because it's harder to even find your legacy.
Yes, and they enlisted Liv Morgan to actually be on an episode of the show that's on USA during that time. Ever any talk of getting the wrestlers in a Chucky movie?
No, we came up with our own called Ready to Rumble. Another cult classic.
Facts.
The horror.
Jimmy the King. Heck yeah, right on. Forever.
Well, another business that's rolling and doing pretty good is DDP Yoga. I read today, Eric, that your friend Dallas is off to Shark Tank once again with a brand new fitness product. Has he ever tried to enlist you to invest in any of his businesses or inventions?
No, he knows I don't have any money. He's afraid
I feel like you'd say he would have hit you up back in the day.
No, listen, I'm good now. You know, I've never hit rock bottom, but damn, I bounced hard enough off of it to know it was there. I think truthfully, I don't like doing business with friends on either side of that equation, either investing with a friend or taking an investment from a friend. I just had a conversation about this today, and you know, it's so easy to go to people who are close friends, especially if they're really smart or really wealthy or one or the other, whatever. It's so easy because that's an easy conversation to have with someone that's a really good friend. And the worst thing that could happen out of that is you actually do a deal. For me anyway, because then you have the burden. You know, it's bad enough if somebody invests in your company and you may not be able to deliver on that investment. You already feel bad enough, but when it's a close friend or a family member, it adds a whole level of burden that I just don't like carrying around. And I think Dallas is the same way. You know, I don't think he's needed any money, by the way. He's been really smart the way he's going about things. So I don't think he's taking on any investors. Maybe he did. I don't know, but I doubt it, knowing Dallas. If he's got partners, they're partners that he's wanted to have for reasons beyond their personal financial investment. Because that's how Dallas operates. But no, he's never come to me.
Well, maybe a Mark Cuban or Lori Grenier will be his next partner. Have you had a chance to try the DDPY power cuffs?
Do I look like I've tried them?
He just
Actually,
seems like
you
the
do.
kind of friend who brings them to you when he comes to your house to visit. It's like, hey, bro, I'm going to try to sell these things.
No, you know
try
what?
it out. Tell me what you think.
He told me, you know, he was out here about 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years ago this summer.
Yeah.
He and his wife page, there are 2 pages. Turn the page. Long, lonesome highway. Bob Seger, great song, by the way. Great saxophone in that song. Great saxophone. But no, he came out and we had dinner and we hung out, had a blast. And he told me about it. I think he was in a development stage at that time. And then I saw him recently, a couple months ago, in Salt Lake City at an event. And he told me they were out. And it made me wonder, why didn't he bring me some to try? He knew I was going to be there. Clearly, he knows I need all the help I could get at this stage. So I'm going to have to call him and ask him. Say, hey, Paige, I'm not going to ask you for any money, but I want some free stuff.
Yeah,
your
come
buddy.
on. Swag bag. Well, we will all certainly be tuning in when that airs. We love DDP. And on that note, another big spender. We got Thomas Gidlow with his super chat. Our live chatter, thank you so much, Thomas. He says, Slim Jams are a great part of an awesome breakfast. I'll admit I bought a Mountain Dew Pitch Black this week, and I'm still coming off the sugar high. So when is the Jack Daniels barrel roll match?
That was a great one. I love that. Thomas, that was fun. You know what's interesting though? I just briefly, because I've been doing back-to-back Zooms and podcasts and stuff since about 11 o'clock this morning. I've had very little time to do anything, but I was scanning in between the conference call that Nick Khan had, you know, their end of quarter financial call that they have. And I saw a little bit I read where Nick was talking about some of the sponsorships that are into WrestleMania. And I think at least one of them was definitely a kid's demo. And I think as long as there's a strong kids demo in wrestling, you won't see a Jack Daniels or a beer company. They just won't be comfortable in that environment. How many other shows have you ever seen that have advertised alcohol and something that would be targeted to a teen or a preteen in the same show? You don't see that. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you will in wrestling anytime soon. Mm-hmm. Now watch. Now that I said that, there'll be like a Coors beer ring mat WrestleMania, but I don't think so.
WrestleMania brought to you by WrestleMania brought to you by Budweiser and Mattel.
Yeah. See, that won't happen. That won't happen.
Well, we are on the road to WrestleMania, and we have this question from our live chatters, which I think could open a better conversation. Ed Dead asks, would you like to see Kim Kardashian wrestle at Mania? I'm going to go ahead and answer that for all of us, I think pretty safely, and say not really, but we always love the celeb tie-in. I'm always excited to see who it's going to be every year. Is there someone, Eric, who you would love to see kind of get in the mix of WrestleMania? Any big stars?
No. I mean, look, Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, for crying out loud. I mean, look where he's come from, a stunt guest celebrity to, holy smokes, highlight of the night, So it's always fun to see it, but there's nobody that I say to myself, man, if we could only get that person in the ring, that would be really great. Nobody comes to mind. I'm sure there's some great people out there.
And I would say celebrities in wrestling over the last 10, 15 years, Logan Paul and Bad Bunny have kind of set the bar. Right. That nobody can just show up like Hugh Jackman had on Raw, I think it was 10 years ago now, and just throw a punch. If you're getting in the ring, the expectation is you're going to get in the ring and work.
Yep. And the other thing is, you think about Hollywood stars and they're kind of like big brand names, right? But I never heard of Bad Bunny before WWE. Mm-hmm. It's just not my world. I'm way outside the demo, right? But now that I've seen him and experienced him and, admire him for what he did in wrestling, I'm now looking for his music because I want to know more about him. I'm way outside the demo. And he wasn't somebody that, although he had a huge following and a massive audience in his own world, that wasn't like movie world. That wasn't, high profile feature film guy, celebrity. He kind of came from out of nowhere to a large segment of the wrestling audience who isn't in his world. And that's a magic opportunity when you can bring somebody that has their own massive universe that doesn't necessarily watch your product. You integrate them into the show. And this is agreeing with what you said, Steve, about setting the bar so high. Now you're bringing these massive influences in from outside of your universe, bringing them into yours and merging those audiences and over delivering for everybody, including someone like me that's now a Bad Bunny fan when I didn't even know what a Bad Bunny was. Same with Logan Paul. I kind of knew of him. You can't be on social media and not know who he is, but it was like I could care less. He was just as important to me as the clown world social media following I have. He said, I don't care. But damn, do I care now? Now I think the guy, I'm just fascinated with him. I admire him because he's so freaking smart as well as being so freaking athletic to be able to pick up on something that I know from personal experience, not as a performer, but as someone that watched it for so long and been in that business. It's really hard to get good inside of that ring. To even get remotely passable for a weekly television show is a real big hurdle to climb. And to just forget that hurdle altogether and jump up to a hurdle that's very high on a pay-per-view in that short of time, that's nothing beyond bizarre. That's why those things work. Now, you're going to bring in, let's bring in Chris Hemsworth. What's he going to do? You can't take somebody that's not in the business and learned it and ask him to do anything that the audience isn't going to go, okay, next. Boy, that
Yeah,
was
I don't think he's
long-winded.
brave enough. He don't want any of that smoke.
Shout out to Aaron Lepperman, $10 just cuz. Thanks so much.
Yo, Aaron. Shout
Are
out.
you subscribed, Aaron? We really appreciate that, but are you
He
subscribed?
is. I don't. It's not gonna. It doesn't let you say anything in the chat unless you're subscribed. Speaking of which, Eric, two nights ago, you and I did the overtime segment, and we had Robbie Hyde. They got their question in just after you left, so I was able to save it. Hey, Eric, what's your favorite storyline while you were in the WWE?
Steve Austin, for sure. Steve Austin. That was just nothing. That was so good. Nothing's come close. I mean, I loved working with Ric Flair. That was up until the time I had a chance to work with Austin, and for all the obvious reasons. You know, I actually enjoyed the physical aspect of working with Rick in the ring more because I was able to do more. Steve was very limited. Like, he was in the no-touch zone for the most part because of the nerve damage he had at the time in his neck and all that. So it wasn't like he was going to, wrestle me. He was just going to stomp a mud hole in me because he could do that without risking injury. Anything else was too risky. So the physical part of that wasn't that much fun, but the storyline and the buildup to it and the crowd in Montreal and a pay-per-view. And I mean, the Montreal crowd is second to none in the world for wrestling. And by the way, I've got like a 15 years backstory with Steve Austin because I fired him with, oh shoot, I thought I had my fired by FedEx cup here. I had a cup that says fired by FedEx. I became famous for that and that backstory and all the heat that it created over the years. The fact that Austin on ECW, used to bury me all the time because of it. And now here we are in WWE and I'm chasing him around Texas trying to get him to sign and end up in a match with him. How cool was that? There you go. Look at that.
Nice.
And
nice.
And then on top of that, just to put a cherry on it, working with Steve was the only one that I knew of back then in WWE. He didn't work off a script and everybody knew it. He had a pretty good idea. They'd hand him a script and he'd pretend he was reading it. But he knew what he needed to do, and he'd go out there and he'd improv. Well, guess what? If he's improving, I have no choice but to improv. I can't stick to the script because he ain't on it. And that made it so much more fun for me because I'm pretty good at improving, and I love doing it. So that was a magic time in WWE to be able to work with somebody that, okay, great, thank you. Psh, over here. Okay, kid, come on, this is what we're going to do. I like that.
I think Steve Austin has said in more than one interview that he wishes he had found a way to hold on to this part of his career longer. That specifically the sheriff of Monday Night Raw, the hands off, but you're on TV 3 to 5 segments. Like he has mentioned that he really wishes that was more than, I think it was only 10 months of his career.
And it was a magic 10 months. It was 10 months that had a decade's worth of impact on the business. But I know how Steve feels. And that's, I've said this a million times, guys. You've heard me talk about it. There's nothing like that. You can't get a rush from anything, any drug, anything. You can't get the same kind of rush as you do when you're in a 20 by 20 ring surrounded by 5, 10, 15, 20, 40, 30, 50, 60, 70,000 people, whatever it is. That live energy that's so close to you that it's palpable. You almost feel like you can pick it up, taste it. It's so cool. And I know how he feels, man. Performers love to perform. That's why the Rolling Stones are still out there touring.
Everything feels pretty mundane after that, which can be a bit of a problem too. Let's get to this question from Mr. Whisper about another very successful angle in the world of pro wrestling. He says, Eric, when deciding to expand the NWO from the big three, what goes into the process of choosing who joins a faction and how they're used?
I can tell you how it started, and we all know how it ended. And how it ended was the exact opposite from how it started. So let me just stick with how it started. It was more about casting. It wasn't about long-term planning and where someone's going to go storyline-wise. But when when I first started populating the NWO, it was more like casting a movie than it was laying out a story. And by that, I mean, by example, X-Pac, right chemistry, right look. Oh, by the way, his ability to fly around the ring and help kind of not camouflage, but add another layer of excitement to a match when you got a guy like Kevin Nash in the ring, right? You need people who are really good at certain things, and those things are different than each other. You got Kevin Nash, he's the giant, he's the powerhouse, he's the guy, if he gets his hand on you, Jackknife City over and out. You're not going to wrestle a, Eddie Guerrero style match with you. Kid could, Six-Pack could, but that was more about casting than it was about long-term storytelling or where someone's going to go. Now to the second half, I don't know. Put your name in a hat. Everybody put your name in the hat. We're going to pick 5.
I could run it.
Has to buy beer at the Marriott. Let's do it.
I could run a tool right now, and it'll tell everyone. It'll pick from the chat, and we could name 5 people members of the NWO tonight if we wanted to.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we have the time.
What I'm always most curious about is who still gets the money from the NWO t-shirts. Right? Because there's a lot of guys that came and went, and I know, Eric, you always just say, not you.
I know Nash
I
does.
never got a nickel. You know what pisses me off? Nah, I shouldn't say that. It
Tell
doesn't
us.
piss me off. But it's one of those things where I go, oh, I wish I would have known. Make this short. I got a call from Jim Ross in 2001 or whatever it was, a year before I actually started. Jim Ross called me, said, hey, boss wants to know if you're willing to come in, work some TV. Sure, Jim, what are we doing? Well, yeah, I'm not really sure yet. We're kind of working on bullshit. He knew exactly what it was, but I understand. Yeah, just, we want to talk about, feel each other out sort of thing, Well, Jim, any idea what I'm going to be doing at TV? Well, haven't figured that out. I'm like, okay, great. So he's not telling me what I'm doing. I don't really have a deal. And he's interrupting my 4th of July. Nah, pass Jim. Thank you. And then a year later, I get the call. Well, that first call from Jim was about coming, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but from what I've been told, it was about coming in as a part of the NWO invasion.
And
Why is that important?
The timeline of the call matches as well.
Why was that important? If Jim would have said, here's what Vince is going to do, he's bringing in the NWO and you're coming in with Scott and Kevin and Hulk, and you guys are going to take the company away. Oh, I'm in. I'll work for free. You don't even have to send me a plane ticket. I'll hitchhike. Don't worry about it. I'm there. But instead, I got kind of nothing, right? Now, when Scott and Kevin and Hulk came in, part of their negotiation was they each got, and I think X-Pac, I'm not sure about X-Pac, but they each got a percentage of NWO merchandise for life.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who didn't get
Well,
it? Damn, I had a great rack of ribs and about a dozen beers for 4th of July dinner.
Well, and you set a clean boundary for who and how you want to work with the WWE. I don't think anyone should fault you for that.
Oh no, I'm just, well, I'm kind of kidding, but I'm actually not. Every at the end of every quarter, when my accountant sends me my estimated taxes, I go, damn, it would be nice to be getting a check for about 15 or 20,000 residuals off NWO merchandise, but not me.
oh, well, next time. Here's a great joke that'll cheer you up, Eric, from our Mick Mac, our resident friend. Why did the golfer bring 2 pairs of pants? In case he got a hole-in-one. Oh.
What's in the water in Australia? Is everybody like this in Australia, or is Mick Mac unique?
I have always wondered this.
They're down under. I mean, I don't know.
Having interacted with Mick Mac for a long time, I've been curious.
Yeah.
We love you, bro.
Rumor has it I'm going to be heading to Australia in, I think, November. Just a rumor at this point.
That rumor's pretty strong.
Nothing confirmed, but never know.
Speaking of Australians, Jared Aviette paid us $7.99 Australian. Eric, hope you're well. Have you ever had someone from the film and TV business marvel to you about the fast-paced nature of wrestling TV? Thank you.
Many times.
Wow.
Many times. I did Arliss. You guys probably don't remember that show, but Arliss was a pretty hot show on HBO for a while back in the 90s. And I did that show. I think I did it once. I may have done it twice. I can't remember. I know I did it once. And that's how that happened. Some guys that, produced that show or wrote that show came to a WCW event. And I was like, holy smokes. And of course I was, part of the NWO at the time and all that. But yeah, they can't believe it. I did the Foxworthy show, same thing. Jeff Foxworthy is a big wrestling fan, had been backstage at different wrestling events. Can't believe it. And what's even cooler is when you talk to producers that work with a professional wrestler, because when you cast a professional wrestler who you don't know, you assume they have absolutely no acting experience, right? Because these are guys that just yell at each other and hit each other in the head with chairs and stuff, right? Anybody could do that. You just gotta have to have a good body and have a hard head. Boom, easy. Acting is different. And they cast somebody in, they have the lowest expectations in the world, and more often than not, somebody that's been on TV for 5 or 10 years and had a decent amount of mic time could come in and blow stuff away because they know how to hit a mark. They know what a mark is because that's a wrestling mark, you idiots. They know what a mark on a stage is, right? Or on a set is, because you have to lay your match out. So that camera gets this finish. So you'd be surprised how much natural ability that a pre-seasoned professional wrestler can bring to a movie set or a television set. And I've had a number of people comment on that.
I mean, compared to a wrestling match, saying a bunch of words and standing in 4 different places, that's nothing. That's nothing compared to a 20-minute, we're going to be there, then we're going to do that, then we're going to do this, and then we got to hold for the camera, and we got to do that.
In terms of memory. Now, let's be fair. Acting and becoming a character, creating emotion. Okay, and that's a whole nother art form. And wrestlers don't necessarily bring as much of that as they'd like to the table the first couple times. Some do, and they go on to become The Rock and the highest paid actor on the planet, or John Cena, or Dave Bautista. It's pretty freaking cool how wrestling can set you up for a career, and more people are recognizing it, just like sponsors are recognizing how great of a vehicle it is. The more Rocks and John Cena's and Batistas and who knows who next, the more that happens, the more opportunities going to become available.
Absolutely. Although, actors are pretty good at giving themselves credit, so I don't think they need us to do that.
Barry Horowitz.
So are wrestlers, though. Come on.
Barry Horowitz.
But great question, Jared. Thank you so much. And we've got another good one here from Mel W., who asks, who is the biggest wrestler that you at WCW overlooked, but Vince made a star? And have you ever told a wrestler that you made a mistake on them? Interesting.
I never make mistakes, ever. And if I did, I would never admit it. That's not true. If you listen to my podcast, you know that's not true. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Look, I mean, who was in WCW under my watch that wasn't highly featured? A star is very subjective, but highly featured, main event caliber. Other than Chris Jericho, who left the only reason he got the job in WWE is because how much I featured him in WCW. Fact, Chris. He knows it. Just having fun, Chris. But other than Jericho, who left under my watch that went on to become a big star that wasn't a big star in WCW? I'm sure there was somebody, but I can't think of him. Who was it?
Steve Austin?
Steve Austin was injured.
Oh, okay.
Steve Austin had other issues. Steve Austin was in a bad frame of mind. Steve Austin will tell you that. In fact, you can find it on his podcast. I did his podcast years ago. We sat there and got hammered for 3 hours, 2 days in a row. And in one of those conversations, Steve said, man, if I were you, I would have fired me too. Not quite the same thing.
I'm sure someone in the chat, if we give it a second. Someone says Terrorizing.
I mean,
So Triple H.
Triple H, yeah.
I mean, that's valid,
Yeah.
right? He was, I hired him, I think, or approved him to be hired. Yeah, there you go.
Somebody, David Kelly says Eddie Guerrero. Michael says Chris Benoit.
Hold on. That was not under my watch. That was under Russo's watch.
Yeah.
They were there under your watch.
Facts.
Yeah, but I didn't let him go.
Vince Russo let him go. Yeah, I was reinforcing that. I was just kind of parroting, I think.
No, you sounded like you were arguing with me.
I was not, sir.
No, it sounded like you were.
Jesus. Ooh.
The Diamond Studs, Scott Hall.
I didn't let them go.
That was Watts, right?
No, that I think they left under Dusty.
Ooh.
That sounds right.
They left right after I started.
Last one, we're having some fun here. Brian Pillman.
What's he gonna say?
I
No,
know.
I just, yes, for sure, but I'm going to put an asterisk next to let him go because there was a conversation beforehand about that. And I don't know that that Brian became a bigger star in WWE than he was in WCW. Granted, he had a bigger platform, but I don't think he was positioned any higher on the roster in WWE than he was in WCW.
I think you're right.
Capable of being corrected, but if you're objective about it, again, WWE much bigger platform than WCW was at the time. But I don't think he was positioned any better.
I think you're gauging potential. Brian Pillman might have been positioned to do more in the WWF, and he just didn't have the opportunity. Like, life took away that opportunity. But then you're getting pretty far into hypotheticals.
I don't know. I mean, Goldust, right? That was a big pet project of Vince McMahon, right? And, right up until he passed, Pillman unfortunately passed away, he was in an angle with Goldust and Marlena. So, I mean, I don't
know. As you point that out, not to interrupt you, Adam, but you inadvertently, I think, pointed out, made a good point. Dustin Rhodes falls into that category.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah, I had something to do with Dustin Rhodes getting let go, and he definitely became a bigger star in WWE than he ever was in WCW. So Dustin needs to be on that list too.
100%. Yeah.
There we go. Great questions tonight. And we have this. This is so cool. And something I think that we should all go and do. JLong8986 says, never watched wrestling growing up, watching all of the episodes of Nitro, Raws, and pay-per-views in order. Just got done with Halloween Havoc 1995. Oh, and he's still going. Surprise, surprise. And I must say, I would have been a WCW fan during that time. Much appreciation, Eric. How fun is
I appreciate
that?
But here's the deal. Wait till you get to 96. 97 is off the charts, and 98 will blow you away. Stop right there. That's where you stop.
Shut it down.
99 never happened. We skipped it. We took a long break. 2000 isn't worth your time because if you don't see 99, that 2000 won't make any difference, and 99 sucks. So just leave it alone. Stop at 98. You'll be glad you did.
Good advice.
So to transition, Mick Mac wants to pick a bone with you. It's your desk. You can have things how you want them, but Mick Mac wants you to turn your mouse pad around. The one behind you, on the PC behind you. That's
also, I think he's looking out for your wrist health because there's that little padding there which is on as you have at the top, but could go on the bottom, and you could rest your wrist on it, Eric.
I don't like to rest my wrist on it. I hate that.
No rest for Eric Bischoff.
No, it's uncomfortable for me. I've tried it. I don't like it at all. So no,
There you go.
and I'm not turning it around because it's a ridiculous request. It's not the mouse that I'm using to operate the computer that I'm using now. That's a different computer. Look, different keyboard. Oh, should have recognized that. No, you've been bugging me for a week about my freaking mouse pad and my mouse is, leave my mouse alone. It's my mouse. Keep your filthy hands off my mouse.
We have too much fun here, y'all.
Love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a good clip for us.
Freaking Aussie.
All right. Here's one that may or may not upset you. Let's just keep it rolling. Mario wants to know if there is any truth that you used to try to intimidate talent with martial arts in WCW to prove your toughness.
That's so stupid. That is such a look. I know that's floating around out there. Some, a couple malcontent never were important enough to, get a free cup of coffee. Employees at WCW 20 years later got to do an interview and whatever. Did I intimidate some people? I'm sure I did. I'm sure I intimidated people that didn't know what the hell they were doing. I'm sure I intimidated a lot of people who were suffering from a terminal case of imposter syndrome because they had jobs that they didn't deserve. Yeah, those people were intimidated. But that had nothing to do with me trying to talk about my martial arts prowess. I laughed about it. Some people knew of it. Nobody gave a damn, including me. It's just a rumor that got started and it was really stupid. But I'll tell you how I did intimidate people. Strong people. People that were much physically tougher than me. I did it with my intellect. Did it with words. Did it with my mind. Mind over matter. That's how I did it. Scared them to death. Talk anybody down.
And wearing that gi
So full of
backstage.
shit, but it's fun, right?
No, that's
I put
absolutely.
Steve to sleep. Steve is sleeping. Oh no, his face is frozen. You guys are all frozen. I thought you were all in such shock at what I just said that you were just in a state of suspended animation. But no, I think we've lost the signal.
Is the signal back, Eric?
Are we there?
Are we?
Now you guys sound like you're underwater, but you still look like you're in shock.
Oh,
Oh
Hey,
boy,
well, you look good.
you look great.
Good.
your upload's
you-
great. It must be the download.
Yeah.
So
you know
if
what?
we-
Let's throw this out here and see how well we do. This is something that Eric, you talked about on Strictly Business last week. Other podcasts available on ad-free shows. Awesome stuff. Jay Watson 723 said, "Hey Eric, is the Bloodline storyline the best piece of storytelling you have ever seen? And would there be anything you would do to change the storyline?" I know you're into this, Eric, because you talked all about it on Strictly Business.
And we lost Eric. His screen went black, and then I think I have a feeling he's restarting his StreamYard. And then he's back in here.
There he is.
Does he hear us?
Can you hear us?
Christy, I think
So did I. Oh,
I've got Christy and I can hear her, but you guys sound like you're underwater and it's really distorted.
it's you two. You guys are the problem. What else is new? Trying to
Adam,
find
can you
this
say
question
something?
again.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Nothing.
No.
I'll jump
All right,
out.
Christy, what do you want to talk about?
Can we? Yeah, let's just keep rolling here. Well, we got this good one from Jay Watson. As I just mentioned, you talked on Strictly
Ah,
Business.
shoot, you're
this
freezing
week.
up too.
Oh man.
Answer the question. No.
Can't hear
All right. Technical difficulties, people. Sometimes this happens. This is what happens when we are on live with the one and only Eric Bischoff. Steve,
I
what
hope
should
it
we
isn't
do?
UFOs.
I also hope that, because Wyoming would be.
It sounds
Wyoming
like
or-
UFOs. You guys all sound like Martians.
Do I still sound like a Martian?
Hey, Eric,
Probably.
is the Bloodline storyline the best piece of storytelling you've ever seen? And would there be anything that you would change in the storyline? Absolutely nothing I would change. I think it's a work of perfection. And in case you haven't, you need to go to Strictly Business on adfreeshows.com or on YouTube. Go to 83 Weeks on YouTube, 83weeks.com. Subscribe. And then go listen to Strictly Business as Tom DeShane and I break down in a manner in which you will probably not be able to find anywhere. This is some like PBS high level, super smart Harvard stuff where we break that story like Tom does, breaks that storyline down and tells you why you love that story and why I love that story so much, and the ingredients that go into that story that allow us to love it. And we don't even recognize them until you hear Tom DeShane break them down. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Go to 83 Weeks, wherever you get your podcast, subscribe, or go to YouTube. Steve will put the graphic up. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff.
I really like the part where you outed John Alba for lying about being sick and not being able to come to work.
No, I think he said, I thought, no, maybe he wasn't fibbing. It was my impression he had business in Tampa.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Until I found out
big
Bruce
business
Springsteen was
guy.
there.
He could have both.
And I'm
Both
sure his
business-
soul left his body once he heard the opening song.
Bruce is the boss for a reason.
Eric, I have business in Florida next week, but you'll also see pictures of me in Disney World.
All right, guys, I'm going to bail because I can't hear any of you.
No. One
One
more.
more.
All right, I just can't hear.
It's really good. It's really good. Oh, did we lose him
Is he
again? We're
coming back?
definitely gonna have to. We're gonna
I'll
have to
save
save
it.
this one.
Bruce,
for
we're
sure,
saving this if
because-
we can't get him back.
Yes, because this is a fantastic question and also one that I think could spark a long conversation that Eric is the guy you want to hear from on that. So we lost him. We're sorry.
gonna-
You know, he lives way out there in the boonies. He was just talking
It's-
about it this week.
It is a
Ask
shock.
Eric anything.
It is a shock to me that he gets as good internet as he does in Wyoming. I'm kidding. Wyoming is a civilized place with internet. How do we feel about this question?
That's exactly how Bruce views his pro wrestling content. That's the same thing I do. I'm looking at all of the ad-free shows stuff, and that's how I intake my wrestling.
Hey,
He's back.
I got you guys. I got all
right.
of you.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
perfect.
Yes.
Oh, that's great, Eric, because we have this fantastic question that you are the perfect person in the entire world to answer. It's from Bruce Sharp, who asked, do you think podcasts are the reason for the lower viewership? Me personally, I don't
Okay,
watch
this
Raw
will
or
have to be the
SmackDown.
last question because I had you and now I've lost you again. So I can see the question now.
Perfect.
Do you think podcasts are the reason for lower viewership? Me personally, I don't watch Raw or SmackDown. I watch the pay-per-view and listen to podcasts. No, I don't think so. I really don't. I think, if anything, I think the podcast business has probably enhanced people's interest in wrestling. I know the Ad Free Shows Network has. I have people telling me that all the time. So I know from what we do on Ad Free Shows, that's the case. We actually enhance interest in the product as opposed to vice versa. I think the lower viewership just simply has to do with the lack of quality storytelling and compelling characters. Simple as that. People are going to argue in the dirt sheets all you want. You can listen to the useful idiot Dave Meltzer all you want. And the people that are hardcore, we love Japanese style, 5-star, super athletic matches, false finishes for a 20-minute match throughout the entire match. I get it. You love the action. People love watching car wrecks too. People are hooked on TikTok watching motorcycles, flipping over in the middle of the street. I get it. It's kind of interesting to watch, but it's not compelling storytelling. There is a difference. A smaller percentage of the audience loves the physical human car wrecks than enjoy a compelling story with great characters. History has proven that in every medium known to man. It's not arguable. If you love the other stuff, so be it. But the more we see storylines that have the elements and the discipline and the structure that we've seen for quite a while now in the entire bloodline evolution and story, the more viewership will go up. And I talked to you guys in the beginning of this when I did this thing with John Arezzi, and I'm listening to John asking me a question about what makes television work. And it's the same thing as today. You have to have compelling characters and great story. And when you do, people come. When you don't, they won't. It's simple. That's the reason for fewer people. Now you can, but people want to see their phone. Yeah, okay, yeah, they do. But they still watch great stuff on television when it's great. There's the answer.
Are we still sounding silly to you, Eric?
Well, no, I answered that question in such an elongated fashion because I wasn't sure if I had you or not, but you're all back again. So let's roll with it while we got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Here's a really great question from the People's Wrestling Channel. Eric, hope you're okay. My name is Ricky. He wants to know if you see Cody beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I know this is a storyline you've been invested in and following.
I love this. I mean, I don't know what'll happen. I can make an argument for both outcomes and be right, as we all could. Doesn't take it a brain. Either way they would go, there's a reason why it would be a good idea. I can tell you personally how I feel. I want to see Cody win it because of legacy, because of history, because of backstory, because of acknowledging, someone who is so influential and is held in such high regard, that being Dusty Rhodes, and the fact that there's more than one royal family in WWE. I think that right there. When I heard that, I'm in. Now there's a reason for me to care. Up until that point, there's a reason for me to be interested in who wins, but I didn't really care. Once I heard Cody talking about there's more than one royal family, and it brought to life the legacy that Cody is manifesting in that ring in the main event of WrestleMania. Come on now. Who doesn't want to see that?
I do.
I think we all do.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you didn't, you do now.
Absolutely. Sure. Maybe you should be the celebrity this year at Mania.
No, man, I'm going to be watching from the comfort of a lifelong goal.
Possibly in Cody, Wyoming. Speaking of celebrities, Dapper D wants to know if you've bumped into Kanye West there yet. I think he's been spending less time there.
He's been spending no time.
Sad.
Once him and Kim split up. No, it's really unfortunate because Kanye came to town during that window, the brief window when I was in Stamford. So I was hearing about it, and I was, friends of mine are calling me, saying, "Hey, I ran into Kanye and Kim and the kids, at the Silver Dollar having a hamburger." And I'm going, "What? It's so cool." And Kanye, he did some really cool things here in Cody, and the support and the turnout for him. He had a concert in the park, one Sunday morning, and it was a service, but everybody came out. I mean, the whole town was there. And everybody had fun. It was on the front page of the newspaper. It was all positive. He was building a business. He was going to be based here with some of his manufacturing for some of his product here. So the whole community was behind him. And then I got back from my stint in Stamford right after the first of the year because we went down to Florida to hang for holidays. And then he was gone because it was in the dead of winter. So I'm sure they were somewhere else. And then shortly thereafter, they split up and nobody's seen him since. It's really unfortunate because the community was really excited and excited about bringing new business here. It's an interesting community here. There's tourism, which probably supports 75% of the community. And then there's ranching. And Christy, you know how tough that is. It is what it is. And there's not a lot of middle ground. There's no manufacturing. When kids graduate from high school, they go off to college, they never come back because there's nothing here for them unless they want to be a hotel manager or a kitchen chef or something like that. There's no future in that. So when Kanye was coming in and the plans and the approval that he got from the city to build and remodel and do the things he wanted to do, it meant a lot to the community. So it was disappointing when those things didn't happen. But I never met him. I wish I did. I think he's fascinating. Okay, he's out there. He says some pretty controversial stuff, but I've also heard him do long form interviews where I went, man, I got to sit down and talk to this cat. I just got to try to understand how he thinks and what he sees from his perspective, because he's very, very intelligent and very interesting on top of being
controversial.
Well seen and there's a lot of that just makes my skin crawl. I don't get it. I don't know why he's saying the things that he's saying, because it's I don't want to get too far into it because I'll piss somebody off, but he's a brilliant guy.
Did the house that he buy, is that sitting vacant or is it like being Airbnb'd or something?
No, he bought a place called the Monster Lake Ranch. Monster Lake Ranch was a very exclusive, I want to say a resort, but it had facilities there. and a big dining area, but it was for people that would come in and spend 2 or 3 days fly fishing because they have a couple trophy lakes. Trophy lakes meaning you can't take the fish out and keep them, but it's the fish that are in there have been bred. There it is, Monster Lake Ranch.
Wow.
In the lower right-hand corner there, that's the lodge, and upstairs is the restaurant. Those other buildings you see are outbuildings. And what you don't see kind of in the center, with the trees around it, the little circle to the right, there were a series of cabins there. This picture was obviously taken after Kanye bought the property because he tore those down. But that used to be a place before Kanye bought it that people would come out. I don't know, it's like 3,000 acres or something. It's big. But people would come out there and fish in that lake, and it was absolutely trophy-sized fish in there. But it was really expensive. And that's what he bought, and now it's up for sale.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. Oh, big. I feel like that's
about buying it. I figured, I better call Diamond Dallas Page and see if he wants to invest.
I figured as much. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, on that note, oh, go ahead, Steve.
$14 million is what it's for sale for.
14?
14.
Hey, maybe if Page
acres.
does well on Shark Tank, it won't be that big of a stretch for him.
Yeah.
Right? It could have been that NWO money.
We hope it holds out. All right. Well, we got to get to our special private after party just for our ad-free shows, top guys. And we're going to end on this note from Mick Mac, who asked Eric, why did you always drink beer with Steve Austin? You always got stunned.
Hey, I'll put up with a lot for good beer.
We love that. On that note, everybody, remember, if you are watching on the 83 Weeks channel, you have to be subscribed to ask questions. Do that and turn on the little bell notifications. That way you will know every time we go live with Eric and you get a chance to pick his brain. We do this every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and we so appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us. Great questions tonight. We're going to get to some more from our top guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Ad-free shows, folks. Stay tuned. Have a great week.